Hello all, welcome to Sand Compounding. This is Sandeep, Anand. I'm starting a new series called 20 for 2030. And what does that even mean? For investors in investing, the formula of compounding, which is very powerful, and the formula is P into 1 plus R by 100 whole to the power N. And N is an exponential factor. N is nothing but, we all know, it's a time invested, time we invest in the capital is invested in a business, or the tenure as we can call. And the tenure or longevity of our investment is very important because if we make investments in businesses that can sustain for 10 to 12 years with a good level of growth and at the right valuation, we are made home. The returns on the capital invested would be very high. Now, how do we find businesses which can run and which has such longevity of 10 12 years, especially in today's world of disruption? Every business is getting disrupted. Erstwhile, no wonder Warren Buffett, the legendary investor, used to find businesses which are least disruptive and that can run for a long time with growth, and he called it as moat. While moat investing, I don't know if it's really that relevant in today's generation because all businesses are getting disrupted with the advent of digital and mobile and internet. Now, identifying such businesses is a very difficult task, and I have tried my best to find out 20 such businesses which can pay way till 2030, and come 2030, in hindsight, these businesses would have been great to hold for such a longevity period. Now, how do we find these businesses? I've applied the principle of inversion, which I learned from Charlie Munger, and we look forward to 2030, and when we look back in hindsight, the inversion principle, based on that, what businesses could and why those businesses could sustain till that period is what I've done. So here are such 20 stocks, and one most important thing, not in investing, not all businesses are great investments at all point of time, but most point of time. So there could be reasons being valuation is one important factor which can control the time when we enter into a business. If there are frothy valuations, our returns would be mediocre. So it's very important to identify great longevity, great businesses which has longevity and at the same time that has good growth and the right valuation. So, but this could be a blueprint or a watch list that we can use to identify, and when the correction happens or recession happens, these great businesses could be a great entry point, could give a great entry point. Hope this gets interesting as we move on. One such business in the 20 for 2030 list is Mastercard. Mastercard is a leading global payments player along with Amex and Visa, and Mastercard is run by currently the great CEO Ajay Singh. It's a great management that's running Mastercard. It's a wonderful business with strong moat, as Warren Buffett calls it, and Mastercard is a global player. And among Visa, Amex and Discover, all the associations, I felt Mastercard will lead the way to longevity for next 10 years is because they are rightly placed with all the partnership in the digital world. They have partnered with every fintech firm in Europe like the Monzo, and every digital banks in Europe and Latin America and globally. Like the new bank is a digital bank, and Mastercard is partnered and co-branding and releasing cards with every digital and fintech players. They are really exploring the concept of open banking, and Mastercard is rightly placed with the advent of 5G and with the digital exploding and penetrating in deeply into the commerce world. I think Mastercard is placed well. They have right partnership, right management, and great business model. They are very innovative, bringing up the concepts like touchless authentication, and it's creating a wave in the digital world for the next 10 years. Again, valued at $270 billion, but consider that today there is only 20 to 30% of the global population who are using digital payments, and the rest 70% of the global commerce platform is still untapped, and so valuations could be high growth, but still growth can be quite well ahead, and even if it gives a good 4 to 5 times returns in the next 10 years, that's a great investment idea. Again, this can be added to the watch list, and this is just an analysis to show how great businesses can be part of the watch list, and tap it when the time is right, when the correction happens. Let's analyze deeply into Mastercard. This is Mastercard Business Overview and Management. So Mastercard, as we spoke in the starting introduction, it's a global payments company that connects consumers, financial institutions, merchants, governments, digital partners, businesses and other organizations worldwide, enabling them to use electronic payments instead of cash and checks. So it's just primarily getting rid of the cash economy. Now Mastercard has been existing like American Express or Discover or Visa from the last few decades, and they have been successful. And we all know Mastercard, we have heard about it, we all have used their cards at some point of time. And through their global payments, core global payment processing network, they facilitate the switching, authorization, and clearing and settlement. So it's nothing but when we swipe the card, the authorization is done to see if the card is really belonging to us, and are we using the right card, and does it have the balance required or credit limit required. And it all goes all the way from clearing and settlement, once a payment is made for the banks or associations, as the need be. Now these payment transactions are facilitated, and the payments happens through the point of sale, or it could be online using our Mastercard. If the Mastercard has issued that card for on behalf of the financial institutions. They generate revenues from accessing their customers based on the gross dollar volume of activity on the products that carry Mastercard brands, from the fees they charge to the customers for providing the transaction switching, and from other payment related products and services. So the fees is the primary driver for the revenue for the Mastercard and for any of the association players like Visa and Discover. They have a strong parenthood, as management has been running for many decades, and the current CEO at the helm, Ajay Bagga, he is a terrific CEO, has been driving Mastercard success over the last decade, has been growing phenomenally well, and they are giving good fight for the other associations. Now Mastercard business segments breakdown. So the key business verticals, I put a view there. They have three pillars of growth. They have the core growth area, which is, they call it as grow, and that's a core payments business itself, which is growing. That comprises of credit, debit, commercial payments, prepaid payments, cards, prepaid cards, the digital physical convergence, and acceptance. So these are the typical core payment businesses. Then they have diversify as another pillar, which is customers and geographies. So customers is nothing but acquiring new customers with more financial inclusions, new market areas. Geographies include new geographies like new continents, like the emerging nations, undeveloped nations, and other players. And the new channels, like that could be like digital players, new merchants, and new merchants in new geographies are all belonging to their second pillar. And the third pillar of growth is a build, which is the new areas with digital and mobile. So data analytics, consulting, managed services, safety and security, loyalty and processing, and new payment flow. So all these are the new digital innovation strategic partnership for the next wave of growth which Mastercard is targeting. So it's a wonderful business with strong moat, deeply entrenched networks, and it has got payments, and it operates globally. It has excellent return on invested capital, 48% profit margin. That's like a dream business to have, driven by core payments and fee-led business. So while commercial payment solutions such as the Mastercard B2B hub that enables small and mid-sized business to optimize the invoice and payment process, are also a big success. So it's not only B2C, their B2B is also clocking revenues and growing, especially with the new areas of growth is what I'm bullish on in the next decade, especially on the analytics, AI, and digital mobile-led payments. Revenue, profitability, and segment-wise analysis. Just a quick overview. I've just put in, what their gross dollar volume is, what they call it as the GDV, and they have split it in the table. They have growth happening mostly in APAC, and the APAC and Europe is growing significantly at 18%. APAC is growing as 13%. Overall, their GDV is growing at 13% growth, and US is around 10%, LATAM is 8%, and overall they're growing roughly around 15 to 16% on the GDV, gross dollar volume. Now gross dollar volume increased to $5.9 trillion. That's a whopping 14% growth at such a high base, and they netted revenue of $15 billion, with a rise of 20% in 2018. So even the net revenue is growing pretty good at 20%, and net income in 2018 was $5.9 billion. That grew almost 50% in such a high base. So that shows why Mastercard is still clocking higher revenue growth and higher net income growth. And that shows, like, what their focus areas is primarily Europe. Europe is 18% growth, and if there is one way to play European business in the next decade, that is to have Mastercard business along. I mean, Mastercard's digital growth in Europe with the PSD2 and Open API led growth, and especially on mobile banking, it's been significant, and it differentiates clearly. They have partnered with all fintech players that's come up recently in Europe. I have created a separate video and session on all the fintech players in Europe, and digital banking is just proliferating fast enough in European zone, and Mastercard is right there, with all right partnership and all new products and innovative products in European region. Their OPEX increased 30% in 2018 versus 2017, driven obviously by the increase in acquisitions, partnerships, investment in strategic initiatives, higher operating costs. Personal expenses increased by 20% due to higher number of employees to support continued investment in the areas of real-time account-based payments, digital services, data analytics, and geographic expansion. So it's evident in their revenue growth also. So the OPEX is adding value, and Mastercard is rightly there with the right partnership to lead the next wave of growth in the digital banking. The balance sheet story and the cash flows, capital allocations, and ratios. Returned $1 billion to shareholders as a dividend, which is great. Repurchased $4.95 billion in 2018, so roughly $6 billion came back to the shareholders. Investing capital towards new age digital banks, fintechs in Europe, LATAM, and Asian markets, which is the future of banking. So banking as a service, Open API are all the new trends that is catching up fast. Price to earnings, it's not the right way to look at such a business, but still, 40 times forward looking is way too high on that factor alone, due to which the shareholder returns per se, the EPS growth alone would be great, but the PE re-rating might not happen in the next 10 years, which would be moderated. That could moderate the return ratios for shareholders just at the PE level. But this business could well be existing for the next 10 years, and it might still give a great returns. A just view of why I think Mastercard will be a great business in hindsight when we look back in 2030. There are 5 factors I put in here. The first one being digital payments explosion is going to be even more, with all retailing, consumer spending, and cross-border settlements happening through digital channels, with blockchain driving the cross-border thing, and e-commerce players more and more coming in the consumer spending and retailing. The digital channels are going to be even more, and Mastercard is leading those innovations with, like, blockchain based cross-border transactions. They have proprietary contactless digital payments. They have Mastercard Send assets, which enables real-time payment services underpinning the mobile banking across continents and geographies. Digital banks and fintechs are the future of banking and are going to replace the conservative branch-based physical banking. Now there are three main reasons that are underpinning here, with mobile penetrations across emerging and developing nations as well, faster internet networks like 5G, and consumer spending shift through digital channels, with more retailing happening online. Rightly so, Mastercard has partnership with every new age digital banks in Europe, LATAM, like Monzo, N26, Starling Bank, New Bank, and others. 5G, the third reason is 5G on the anvil, could be a year or two from now, will even more expedite the shift to mobile based transactions, with entire media, retailing, streaming, banking and financial services, gaming, entertainment, education, all shifting to mobile based channels and digital channels. More gross dollar volume will flow into these payments players, not only Mastercard, even other players, but Mastercard is what I'm sanguine about. Fourth reason being more value added products like loyalty and rewards, analytics, and artificial intelligence based financial products and services will increase the spend by consumers. Consumers are spoiled for choices, and trademarks like Mastercard, Mastro, Cyrus, and payment solutions like Mastercard B2B Hub, contactless payments, all these innovative proprietary offerings they have will increase the trend even more. Overall, there is a strong moat to the business, excellent brand value, and has great network effects, plus a strong management with so much focus to continually grow by expanding their horizons into new geographies, serving unbanked and underbanked population in emerging and developing nations. They're also venturing into new digital areas, leveraging power of technology and partnerships. There are competitions obviously from alternate and new age payment players like Paytm, Google Pay, Alipay, WeChat, which is from Tencent, and PayPal. They also have the brick and mortar financial institutions like the large ones like the European banks, the American banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. All are venturing into partnership with fintech and trying to disrupt the payments world. So overall, that's a holistic view of why I think Mastercard will be a great business that would still exist and has a longevity till 2030. Hope this was useful.